What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Mary Obasi, and if you're new here and like this content, be sure to share and subscribe. In today's video, we are going to be talking about capitalism versus capitalism. Can't make this up. I know it sounds like a joke. It's real. That's our reality right now. And it kind of breaks down a little bit in a different way about this great reset that everyone's talking about. As I mentioned in my previous few videos, if you guys here are new on my channel, a lot of my videos kind of commingle with each other, correlate to everything. So take a look at everything else I've been posting. A lot of the reset videos that I've seen on YouTube are just very not researched. A lot of word vomit and repetitive things, and I just don't like them. So I'm gonna go a different route. Instead of just doing one huge general great reset video, we're gonna break it out and start discussing it and have these videos as an introduction to discussion on my channel, because we need to start talking about these things for really what they are. So again, I'm gonna talk about predictive programming. I talk about it many times on my channel. Predictive programming, neuro-linguistic programming, propaganda. I mentioned before in one of my other videos to check out this book. It's called Propaganda. It was written in, I believe, 1896 to 1995. It's a short read. It's very good and very informative, and kind of breaks down how you can kind of manipulate the public and stuff like that using propaganda, which is something the world has been using for centuries. So we have the predictive programming, right? And we're seeing that in articles, even including the Pope. The Pope! What did the Pope say? Pope Francis issues blistering rebuke of capitalism and says that the CV 1984 proves not everything can be resolved from market freedom. Okay. We also see here that the Walmart CEO is basically saying that it's the right thing to do to reinvent capitalism after we're going through all that we're going through. Again, almost every video on my channel, I say that the CV 1984 is just a catalyst for digital slavery, a scapegoat term to enact order out of chaos, as pretty much everything that our poor public goes through is. Reinvent capitalism. What does that mean? Well, on the World Economic Forum, there is an article here saying that stakeholder capitalism, you're going to see this term a lot on World Economic Forum if you go on their website. You're going to see the term stakeholder capitalism quite a lot. Is urgently needed, and the CV 1984 crisis shows us why. Well, I want to bring in this man here and his slogan, Build Back Better. And I want to talk about, and I think I'll go even in more depth in an upcoming video. Again, this is an introduction to discussion, because a lot of these videos are so pumped full of information and connections and puzzle pieces that you can't just talk about it in a 10-minute video. His slogan, Build Back Better, is more telling than people think it is. It's very alarming that is the slogan, and I'm gonna tell you why. To build back better, we must reinvent capitalism. I want you guys to really think about those three words. Remember that these presidents are coming out with these slogans like a business to manipulate your mind, to sell you. Propaganda, again. Programming, again. Build back better, reinvent capitalism. Build back better is such an umbrella term. It could cover so many things that he wants to build back better. But it's not really better, right? Many of you guys will probably be asking, well, what is capitalism? What the heck is that, right? Capitalism is the case for building a new human development system. A new human development system. And it basically says, in the social sphere, a system like capitalism is reflected of cosmic energy being channeled into a collective entity. Capitalism is a dynamic, self-correcting system designed to expand human flourishing, at least in theory. The only problem is that a small percentage of the population has corrupted the order to suit the needs of a few rather than many. You guys can read more about their paradigm and their philosophy on the website. I talk a lot about this esoteric word jargon that is always spewed into the public, thinking that it's all about peace and love and happiness. And we know that our Lord Jesus Christ says that is not the bee's knees. I've done several videos exposing the New Age movement and the words they choose to use because no one would follow anything using Satan's infernal name. And that's basically what capitalism is. They're saying that it all has to do with this energy and this new vortex we're entering and blah, 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 and your chakras and blah, blah, blah. You got to be happy. Capitalism, no, we have to reinvent it and reconstruct it. So that brings me to the topic that all of this will ignite, which is something that was trending on Twitter about, I think, 2 months ago. And it got reignited. And I think it was originally posted in 2015 or 2016. And it says, welcome to 2030. I own nothing, have no privacy, and life has never been better. I'm a happy-go-lucky gal when I own nothing and have no privacy. And that would be 2030. That's a decade from now, folks. Actually, a little bit less because we're entering 2021. It says here under that article on the World Economic Forum, and there are many disturbing parts in the article. I pulled out just a few to show you guys what really stood out to me. The jobless, and there will be many, could be placed on some kind of universal basic income, which we see, for example, happening in Canada, some parts of Europe, and have their debts, indebtedness, and bankruptcy on a massive scale is the deliberate result of lockdowns and restrictions. Okay, I want to just keep in mind that this was written 5 to 6 years ago. Just keep that in mind. Indebtedness and bankruptcy on a massive scale is the deliberate result of lockdowns and restrictions. It's interesting because stimulus, PPP loans, stuff like that, it's not getting passed around anymore. It's just not in the talks. We're going to get into that in a minute. Written off in return for handing their assets to the state of more precisely the financial institutions helping to drive this great reset. The World Economic Forum says the public will rent everything they require, stripping the right of ownership under the guise of sustainable consumption and saving the planet. Of course, the tiny elite who rolled out this great reset will own everything. So I just want to pull out some quick words here: saving the planet and sustainable consumption. We're going to get into that in the next video I post, so make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that. Support me on Patreon as well. Because you're going to start hearing more and more about sustainable living and things that are umbrella terms for climate change, and why climate change is also a scapegoat term and a catalyst for all the order out of chaos and changing things, you know, in front of our eyes, but we're blind to them, essentially. And it's already happening. This was also written in 2016, and it says right here, first communication became digitalized and free to everyone. Then, when clean energy became free, things started to move quickly. Transportation dropped dramatically in price. It made no sense for us to own cars anymore because we could call a driverless vehicle or a flying car for longer journeys within minutes. We started transporting ourselves in a much more organized and coordinated way when public transport became easier, quicker, and more convenient than a car. Now, I hardly believe that we accepted congestion and traffic jams, not to mention the air pollution from combustion engines. What were we thinking? And we could see this where they're saying that how the complete shutdown and lockdown was great for the atmosphere because no one was driving and businesses weren't running, and all these toxic fumes and these carbon taxes, stuff like this wasn't getting emitted into the atmosphere. Oh, it's all our fault. And I forgot, it's also about cow farts. Don't forget about those cows. It's almost the Christmas season here. We're in November, towards the end of it, and it says right here, the death of shopping. It says shopping? I can't really remember what it is. When AI and robots took so much of our work, we suddenly had time to eat well, sleep well, and spend time with other people. The concept of rush hour made no sense, blah, blah, blah. And then for a while, everything was turned into entertainment, and people did not want to bother themselves with difficult issues. It was only last minute we found out how to use all these new technologies for better purposes than just killing time. So we're already seeing that. A lot of people, online shopping is on the rise. You guys know I do dabble into the stock market, and I actually am planning to do videos on the stock market because what I realized is like this weird little gift I have, because I have a tendency to read so much, I see things before they happen, and because of that, I actually do pretty well in the stock market. So I want to introduce that, especially that concept to women, because I feel that women, especially in terms of brain, of brain functioning between the right and left hemisphere have trouble understanding the stocks and is more intimidated with stock markets than men are. So that's something I will be bringing on my channel as well in the near future. We're seeing shopping, we're seeing Amazon even acquired pharmaceuticals now, right? We're seeing Amazon start to get designer companies with them. And it's all online based. Pharmaceuticals and the ability to access them online is becoming popular. And then this one I got really excited about, not because it's something positive, but because I've been knowing it's going to happen. And this one we won't see for a while, but it will happen. And it's essentially talking about smart cities. And again, this is because I read a lot, so it kind of makes a lot of sense in my head. And I connect the dots to a lot of different articles, but it's too much to talk about in this video, so I'm only gonna leave it here for you guys to see. Basically, it just says that my biggest concern is to all the people, and look how they wrote it. Look how they wrote it. They're already initiating the thing in your brain that you're an outcast if you don't want to live in their domed smart cities, which will be a thing. And it says that, you know, the AI took over a lot of the jobs, and those who got upset of the political system and turned against it are essentially the outcasts who don't thrive in this digital technology-based community of no privacy and not owning anything, and they're more on this 19th century, 18th century, whatever level of struggling in the outside world where it's dangerous. And they're already programming your brain to believe that you are literally ignorant and incompetent to not want to submit to this new way of living that we will see in the future. And that's why I say that we're seeing the beginning of lockdowns but no stimulus, making people shut down. 25% in retail stores, 25% capacity in bars and restaurants if they are open, which most of them are actually closed. And neither of these issues should be issues. That's the thing. Neither of these issues should be issues. It's creating a subconscious dependency on the government, and people don't even know it. They're getting manipulated. And for someone to take it away from you for something that is not your fault and then blame you for saying that it's for the general good of the public while they don't take care of you, and then you find yourself saying, well, they need to take care of me in order to do this, then you create an even bigger dependency, lose your independence, especially through finances, and depend on the government for that, which is like a UBI. And unfortunately, if one follows, which one always does, the rest does as well. And there's all these different social manipulations, stuff like that. Another book besides propaganda that I recommend reading to know how you can actually be manipulated, it's banned in a lot of prisons actually, is The 48 Laws of Power, I believe it's called. I have a copy. Let me show you what it looks like. This is the book that I was talking about, and if it's very thick. But this is all basically a book on manipulation and how to play mind games with people. It's actually really toxic if you're like an evil person, but it's also good to know to protect yourself against evil people. So, and what's interesting here, there is no sign of a stimulus deal as holidays approach. So we could see that, and we can actually go back to the slide where I was saying that indebtedness and bankruptcy on a massive scale is deliberate result of lockdowns and restrictions. Okay, and that's back to the agenda that I was just talking about, 2030. I own nothing and I'm happy about it. And that brings us into the fourth industrial revolution. We're hearing a lot of this term, especially on reset videos, especially with people who really just don't know what they're talking about. And something that it says in the Bible that I just really want to point out is God tells us to test everything and hold what is true, hold what is good, and discard everything of the evil doings and stuff. Test and discern everything. Don't listen to one reset video, don't listen to one video, don't listen to just my video. Test and do your own research, your own due diligence, use an eye of discernment, test everything. So we're talking about the fourth industrial revolution. We're hearing this term a little bit more. What is that? I think first we should break down the term revolution and what that really means. Revolution, according to dictionary.com, is a forcible overthrow of government or social order in favor of a new system. And I just want you guys to be clear on the actual context of the words being used. Klaus Schwab, who is the big non-human looking dude for the World Economic Forum. If you guys, I recommend Googling a picture of him. Making everything digital, technology digital. If you haven't seen the new narrative video that I have of what's to come and what we all need to be prepared for, the new narrative that you'll be seeing and what you already have been seeing through predictive programming, how everything is turning digital. I had a video just recently released on the digitalization of books through Haiti Trust not being able to access books, and that problem will continue to rise. Books will actually go out of print, booking companies, because one of the things of the fourth industrial revolution is having businesses comply with sustainable ways and sustainable new infrastructures and procedures to keep us sustainable and to, you know, make us all safe and happy and go lucky and not own anything or know anything, or, you know, just completely a brainless sheep. And one of the ways that they're going to do that is through digitalizing books, and I mentioned that in a video. You guys know me, I had to grab 2 more books to show you. But when I was talking about the digitalization of books and everything and why that's really important, because the fourth industrial revolution is literally digitalizing everything, robots, smart computer technology, stuff like that. Check out Fahrenheit 451. Another book that I really quickly want to mention too for you guys is The Creature of Jekyll Island. Very thick book, but what's awesome about this book is he actually outlines ways to read it, where in each chapter it has a summary of the big chapter, so you can actually read it in a good time, and if you are more interested in one chapter than the other, you can actually take the time to read just that specific chapter. But it actually talks about how the Federal Reserve came about, and it's important to understand this to understand what's coming. And that's why I said a lot of the people who are talking about these reset videos and stuff like that have no idea what they're even talking about, because they're spewing, it's a big game of telephone. They watch something else, read one thing, then make a video on it talking about like they're an expert or something. There's so much reading and work involved. Check this book out for yourself. It is really good. Highly recommend it. It's talking about all the centralized system, the Federal Reserve, stuff like that. So the fourth industrial revolution has begun. Now it's time to join to prepare for a data-dominated future. Organizations needed for the right tools to collect, analyze, and act on it. I did a Patreon-only video on sewer surveillance system, essentially talking about all this new technology where you can collect DNA and all these different things and use all this technology for other purposes. We always see that term on bills passed, right? Other purposes, and no one knows what those other purposes are. And it says 2020 has created more than a brave new world. And people don't even realize the wording behind that. People don't realize, and that's what I mean about being a well-read, well-versed individual. 2020 has created more than a brave new world. There was specifically, without saying it, talking about this book. It's called Brave New World. Check it out, read it. I talk about this book all the time on my channel. And that's how elusive sometimes journalism can be, and the power of words. They're talking about what's happening in this book, and this book is disturbing if you read it, and it's happening. 2020 has created more than a brave new world. It's a world of opportunity, rapidly pressuring organizations of all sizes to adopt technology to not just survive, but thrive. Essentially, the wording here, rapidly pressuring organizations. And this is what I talk about, learning how to read articles with an eye of discernment. Rapidly pressuring means forcefully making every single company on the globe submit. Okay? They're just putting glitter on the words. That's all that is. You think we're living in a digital world now? It's just going to get better. And by better, I mean way worse. I got a lot more videos of in-depth things I want to talk about on all these topics we're mentioning. This is just an introduction to discussion. Please take a look at my other videos, and some are only on my BitChute, some are only on my Patreon. So if you aren't over there, I recommend going over there. Companies are going to have to comply with the fourth industrial revolution. That means digitalizing everything. Things that we are normal to have, even newspapers. I pay for the newspaper to be sent to me. I don't look online at the newspaper. I want the paper in front of me. I want the actual physical property in front of me. I'm old school in a young body. That's just how I am. Right here, this is Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum. The crisis represents a rare, narrow window of opportunity to reflect, reimagine, and reset our world. They are holding on to the scripted reality they created, taking that opportunity, creating order out of chaos, and running with it. It has just begun, folks, but this is nothing to fear. This is not meant to be fear. This is meant to be aware. And I know a lot of these videos kind of create panic and worry and fear in you, and it's just uncertain. it's important to be aware of it, because then we know how to combat it. Then we know how to go forward with whatever desire and whatever path we choose. And I just want to say that everything's going to be 100% okay. On my channel, I'm really going to start going. I have a backup that is, again, if you aren't on my Patreon, I don't mean to keep saying it, but please go over there, because who knows what is safe anymore. And I'm trying to put as many mainstream videos here on my YouTube as well. But I got a lot of great ones that are Patreon only too. So with that being said, that's a brief introduction. We will be diving into some of these topics more thoroughly in videos to come. And the next video that I have coming up for you guys is a video on the word sustainability that we keep seeing and how it's actually changing our food industry. Check out my prepping videos as well as my food shortage videos here on this channel. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe and share my videos on mainstream social media platforms, because we need to get the mainstream people who are unaware of this information over here to this channel. I cannot do so because I was taken away from that privilege. So I really am relying on you guys to do that for me and share my content. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next upcoming video. All book recommendations and links will be down in the description box below. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching.